So it's good versus evil. It's everywhere. I'm optimistic.
I'm optimistic.
I am.
Good wins in the end.
Yeah.
You know, we've all seen the films, haven't we? How it ends. Definitely. You know, I think there's nuggets of light now.
So, welcome to the Mark Attwood Show. It's Mark Attwood here. Don't forget to sign up to my email list in the description box. If you come closely here, you will see that today we've come to see boys at Iconic Media, which is run by Jamie and Gareth Icke, famous sons of David Icke.
Hello?
Hi, it's Mark Attwood to see Gareth.
Yeah, I'll let you in.
Thank you. Hello.
Yeah, how you doing, alright?
How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Come on up.
Come on in. What's the tricks?
Yeah, not too bad, mate, not too bad. Right, I'll see if my brother's around as well.
Cool.
Mark,
Hi,
Jamie.
Hi,
Nice
Jamie.
to meet you. How you
Good to
doing?
meet you. How many people you got here?
A couple in the boot of Jay's car. We don't count them.
Right.
That's on camera now. Well done.
We can end this.
There's a
If you like.
couple not here today who work remotely. I think it's 11 in the room, 11, 12.
I came down to Wembley in 2013, was it?
2012 and
2012,
2014.
yeah.
The two, yeah.
People's Voice.
Is that an alright colour?
Yeah, oh, like that, yeah, 2014, that one. 2013,
2014.
yeah.
That's 10 years ago.
I know, it's a long time. It's a long time. Yeah, that was kind of,
I've been trying to block it out of my memory.
feels like attempt one.
It was stressful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To say the least, mate.
Yeah, well, I was really young, I wasn't particularly involved, but like, I learned a ton from observing generally what not to do.
Yeah.
There was such a toxic atmosphere there, though.
Well, it was infiltrated, wasn't it?
It really was, mate. Yeah.
Bizarre.
I used to come down on a Tuesday to do that band show, and I'd literally drive down from Derby, get in as late as I was allowed to, film, and get out of school. And I never went like for any other days. I just really didn't like the atmosphere there, and I remember like
No, not great.
my mum came in and my sister, and it was like obviously, you know, the whole family, like dad's kind of come up with this whole thing. They just like looked at me like, fuck you, like it was just real. Yeah, it just wasn't a nice vibe.
No, it wasn't great.
I think there was a lot of people that, you know, wanted to have a go at doing stuff, and there were other people that,
There's some great people. Like,
yeah, there were, yeah, some like you kept in touch with and done bits and bobs with, but there were other people that were there for the wrong reasons, I think.
Sorry, just leave that. I'll just let it
You sure?
Yeah.
Well, Richie went on to do well.
Yeah, well, Richie was.
He had a crash this morning. Did you see it on Twitter?
Car crash.
He said he was lucky to be alive.
Really?
Yeah, some van ran into him in Salford.
Shit, I'll message him, isn't there? He was one of the genuine ones, though, Richie.
He was a great
like,
guy, yeah.
you can tell which ones were the genuine ones because they're the ones we've kept in touch with. They've come on the channel and done bits and bobs.
Yeah.
But
There's a couple of
It's like a 10-year filter process.
There's a couple of people involved behind the scenes, like a lady called Amy James who should produce your show. She's done some work with us. She's great.
I
Yeah.
might look off her, so.
We're going to forget someone and maybe really offend someone. Is there anyone else? I still occasionally speak to Shad.
Yeah, there's a few nice people, a few not so much, but that's the life, isn't it, really?
So how's Iconic going? This is how old is it now?
3 years. 3 years.
It was 3 years in November, isn't it?
No, it was 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So this is like a full-time job.
Yeah, absolutely. It's become full-time enterprise, really.
Yeah,
That's good.
The need for it is kind of, you know, as much as like the last 3 years have been a horror show, it's woke a lot of people up, you know.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are kind of like, you know, stumbling around looking for alternative information, and it's kind of, it was a war between like the mainstream media almost YouTube and Rumble and Odyssey.
Yeah.
And a lot of the kind of flack you get would be, oh, I'm going to listen to a YouTube video of mine. Because it's some guy in his house. And he might be like an eminent cardiologist or something, because he's in his house.
Yeah.
And this guy is talking in a, you know, 100 grand studio with all the fancy lights. He must be more trustworthy.
Yeah.
And that's people's attitudes. The amount of times I saw that, like, with particularly with the Daily Expose.
Yeah.
They do some really good, still do some really good stuff. And they're formed by basically a group of, you know, pretty much like solicitors and lawyers and doctors and what have you. And I remember someone commenting on a post that I put up, just saying, oh, I'm going to believe something called the Daily Expose, aren't I? And his mates were laughing, and it's like, they're fucking doctors, mate. They're solicitors, like, they're
Well, I've had that line.
believe the Daily
I've had that
Express.
line 1,000 times. Is that something you watched on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's not true.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
I know.
You can come up with something you saw on the BBC. Oh, like that.
Oh, shit. Was that the cat?
Dog. She's not here today, though.
It goes to show, like, you know, even after this amount of time, like, you know, those things that were said by the mainstream media that are all now completely disproven.
Yeah.
You know, I had it the other day. Like, I was in London for a gig.
You still playing?
No, I've not played in 3 years. Actually, I need to. That's
Why?
my mission to. I've just been a bit overwhelmed with all this shite, and also having 2 young kids. It's been a bit chaotic, but yeah, like these old lads that I used to be mates with, well, still mates with. They were talking about another guy who don't talk to me anymore, which is fine. It's feelings mutual. But he was saying like his issue with you was like spreading misinformation, blah blah, and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, well, what misinformation are you talking about? Because the guy's not political, but it's Rona related. He's all over the masks, he's all over the jabs, he's all over lockdown. And I was like, so what's the disinformation then? Because every single one of those things that you spoke about, we were proved right. Even if you believe the narrative of the virus and all that gubbins, lockdowns cause more harm, masks cause a bunch of harm, including psychological harm to kids, and the vaccines can kill people. So, am I the misinformation, or is, you know, Lorraine Kelly misinformation? I always wondered, do you know what I mean? So but some people won't, like, I've had a lot of people, to be fair, that go, do you know what, fair play. I didn't see it, but alright.
I'm getting that.
Yeah, but most, well, maybe not most, a large portion double, triple, quadruple down, don't they?
Yeah. But we've got things like Andrew Bridget now. Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And you know what I found interesting with him was, one, he didn't back down. You know, normally when a politician it's a grovelling apology on the doorstep, you know, like from Little Britain, with his wife. And all that sort of stuff. He didn't do that, so I had respect for him. But then what I saw was everyone attacking him on other things. I was like, well, that's not what we're talking about. You know, it's like, oh yeah, but he did this in 2017 and he did this with his taxes. He's shit about his taxes. He's a Tory politician, I'm sure he's about as trustworthy as, you know what I mean, like whatever, but it doesn't mean he's not right on that.
Yeah.
You know, he's put his career totally right.
Well, his second big gamble. And I think
Well, he's, yes,
it's going to pay off.
but he doesn't care, does he? And that's
right.
what I've got respect for.
He's
for that.
fearless.
Yeah, he's like, you know, he's bigger than that, and it is. You know, you're elected to represent your constituency. If your constituents are dying, then well, you've got to say something, haven't you?
You think so?
But they see they pulled the booster for under 50s now. They've done it so sly.
They pulled it from where?
The boosters for under 50s is now
I didn't see
pulled
that.
by the government. Yeah.
Oh.
So I saw it in the Daily Skeptic a couple of days ago, and I thought, I'll see. There's been a lot of false dawns, hasn't there?
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll see. And I was in the gym this morning, and there was Lorraine Kelly chatting away to Dr. Shillery, and he was, yeah, they were talking about it.
What was he saying about it?
Oh, yeah, you know, because they paint it in the fact that because the vaccine did such a great job. What I heard him say.
We don't need any more business.
What I heard him say was natural immunity, which made me laugh. I thought that was a conspiracy theory 5 minutes ago.
Well, it was.
But yeah, so they've very sly, but they've pulled it. Yeah, okay. Why have you pulled it?
Why are they doing that?
I think 3,000 excess deaths a week is fucking mental.
Yeah, but that's what they wanted.
It is what they want, but they don't want people figuring it out, do they? So I get
Cat's out of the bag then, haven't
I get the feeling though they might just, you know, pull it back for a bit. And to be fair, even Hillary said autumn. They look to do another load in the autumn. I just think, you know, maybe these excess deaths, plus the Bridges played a big part. Mel Hotchkiss played a big part, as much as he pushed the jab at the start. But actually, people are starting to now look, and so yeah, let's just back off a bit.
Yeah, and that's what I think. Because if you keep the booster program going, then you're going to keep the excess deaths going. Simple as that. And so it's like, you know, back them off, then all of a sudden the excess deaths tail off, and then you'll find that a lot of people won't go looking then. That's
I'm
what
just going to eat and then I'll show you guys around.
And then you get
cheers.
the yeah, and then like he says, autumn. And I think they're going full on Ukraine now as well, aren't they? They've got their eggs in that basket for a bit.
Well, Boris has turned all his attention to that.
He's such an arsehole.
His arse-licking tweets.
Do you know what, right? There hasn't been any talk of peace whatsoever since he went there the first time. Because, you know, they were getting around the table, they were starting to have some conversations, and then he went there and basically said, we're all with you and stuff, and then there's not been any conversations about peace since. Unbelievable. And now, I was listening to the radio when I came in today, and it really wound me up, that Russian athletes, never mind, they've done any. Russian athletes who were supposed to be allowed at the Olympics next year, just competing under a neutral name basically. Now Ukrainian athletes and other athletes and governing bodies have come out saying that to allow them would jeopardise peace. And you've got Zelensky going in tanks and helicopters and F-16s. It's like, she's doing the pole vault. Do you know what I mean? And
Jeopardising
you've
peace.
got fighter jets. I don't know which one's jeopardising peace really, but yeah, that'll escalate, I'm sure, as it's meant to.
It's just madder every day.
I think it's meant to be, mate.
Yeah.
I actually genuinely think that's part of it. That everyone is like, I did that in my closing on the show that goes out tomorrow. It's like someone's just chucked a stun grenade in, and everyone's just sort of stumbling around a bit. And while that's happening, they're robbing everyone blind in a million different ways, and you don't really understand what's happening because you can't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a stun grenade going off in a nightclub, and then just a bunch of lads are emptying people's pockets and wallets and stuff. You don't notice it. Fucking ears are ringing all over the shop, isn't it? And then by the time, you know, people start to go, oh man, and sort of like figure out what's happened. Well,
Or,
go on.
and last time we spoke, I asked you about this. Or there's a lot of good guys using all this as cover, all these stories and things as cover to take out the bad guys. But you don't.
I don't subscribe to
Yeah,
that
by that,
personally.
yeah.
No, just because those stories have gone along for years. That you know, there's this like the whole QAnon thing. That's just a rebrand of other ones. Like talking to Dad about it, he was saying when he started out 30 odd years ago, they were saying that then. There's these, you know, these white hats and all these things are going to come in. It just feels to me like it's like don't you worry about it.
Yeah.
You just go and have a coffee.
It's kind of like
We'll sort
corralling people.
Yeah, and you're still giving your power away, because the power's within everyone else, within us. We're the ones that stop it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I totally agree with that.
no one's going to come over riding a horse. Well, they might, but I don't know what difference that's going to make. But yeah,
But do you still think? I mean, for me, it's all spiritual. The whole thing.
I think there's a power helping. You know, as hippie as that might sound, I do
agree.
feel like there is a light there on our side, and I think we'll win in the end. I've never doubted it for a minute. You know, it's just unfortunately people just need their own lives to get shite before they start to do stuff, and that's what is.
They look pretty shy.
Yeah, well, I think that's why I think like the
People get
destruction.
used to it.
They do to a certain extent, yeah. They get into survival mode, don't they?
Yeah.
But also, I think the destruction of the middle class, because the middle class has always been our more right, Jack, innit?
Yeah.
And you know, now they're getting rinsed. All of a sudden, they might be actually, you know, for standing up a bit.
Well, that'd be a first.
I mean, yeah, it's true. But it feels like a numbers game. Like just looking at the protest movement as an example, you know, you had a few hundred, and then it jumped up to your 40,000s, and even then, it didn't do much. Not really. It was when it got to the 700,000, you know, those huge ones at the start of 2021. That's when things changed, because the numbers, you know, it's just that tipping point, isn't it? You know, and I just think the worse things get, then the more people lose everything. And once you've lost everything, you've got nothing left to lose. Then you're more willing to fight, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, if I think I can talk myself out of a scrap with a big lad, I'm not going to throw a punch.
No.
But as soon as I realise that
There's nowhere to go.
you're going to have a go, aren't you? Because why not? I'm going down anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there.
But I think if people cotton on, what was it, 4,000 excess deaths a week in the UK right
It's
now.
insane.
But they've got to cotton on to that.
Well, they're bigger excess deaths than they were during the highest waves of Rona. And it's like when all these people were supposedly dying, you know, nothing to do with DNRs and midazolam and being chucked in care homes and treatment stops and all that stuff. But when that was happening, they shut everyone down. They shut your businesses down. Yet this, all right, bro. It's mad, isn't it? Mad, you know. But people are starting to tweak. And I know social media is not real life, but you do. I'm seeing
It's a
people
brom.
starting. It is a brom, yeah. I'm starting to see people switch now. Although I saw an article today, and I thought it was parody. I thought it must be, but it was this article in this lifestyle magazine where they were saying the unvaccinated knew, and they never told us. And that there's blood on the hands of the unvaccinated because most of them kept quiet. What? They're like, you're having a laugh, mate. I would shout at anyone that didn't listen, you know.
Yeah, I know we're on record doing it.
Yeah, and got kicked out of, you know, jobs and social media pages and families. I know mates that have lost their families, you know, families don't talk to them.
Well, yeah, I think that's happened to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis, here, you know, he's a successful journalist working for Rebel News and stuff. His family didn't want to know.
Yeah, smokers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky in that sense. Like my family, like,
Well,
well, they're all on the same page, and also, I was just saying this to a lad a minute ago on a podcast. It's like, with a surname like mine, I lost all the normies like 20 years ago. I mean, didn't have any left to lose. I think I lost one lad that I played in the band with. I think I lost him over Rona. And to be fair, me and him didn't see eye to eye before that anyway. So, I think, you know, it's one of those things. But lots of people lost everything.
it's funny. You said that they quietly withdrew the boosters for the over 50s.
Under 50s.
Under 50s. I was speaking to Matt Letizia the other day, and he said that the same things happened in football quietly.
Yeah, they'll do it quietly.
The FA have withdrew the requirement for vaccines.
Do you know what I think as well? That a lot of those requirements for big sports stars, I don't think they even brought them in anyway, really, to a certain degree. Like I remember, like when Klopp came out and was saying that 90% of Liverpool players were all jabbed and that other clubs need to follow suit. He gave it all that, didn't he? And I talked to quite a few footballers, and a couple of them messaged me. Said, bullshit. He said, "The Liverpool players are jabbed." I really.
Well,
But they all chat.
there'd be a few more of them dropping dead if they were.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, it's all right.
There's been a lot of them anyway.
There have, but you think, you know, how many? I mean, imagine if Ronaldo or Messi dropped.
I know. They
never risk that.
I thought the World Cup was weird being at that time of year one, and I thought maybe we're going to see mass, big stars drop.
I don't think a lot of them had it. It's funny that, isn't it? Bridgen said, I mean, this is second-hand information because someone told me, someone who knows him told me, but he said the front back benchers aren't jabbed.
None of them politicians.
Well, front benchers was the term used. Because he was, wasn't he? Because he got a vaccine injury. That's why he started speaking out. Yeah, that's what made me laugh when they called him an anti-vaxxer. Not that's offensive anyway. You know, I wear that badge proudly, but to call him an anti-vaxxer when he got a vaccine injury is just the most ridiculous thing as well.
And anti-Semitic for not saying anything.
Oh, God. Do you know what? When I saw that, Matt Hancock, he just looked like a desperate man, didn't he?
Yeah.
Just terrified.
Yeah. He's got some frost now, doing all the celebrity shit.
It's a rebrand, isn't it? I think that's what he's trying to do. But he's not a likeable bloke because even before he became health secretary, I remember he would do like videos with him at a bus stop, and he would like walk towards the camera. He's always been dead creepy and weird.
Yeah, he's really good.
Like he's not a likeable bloke, really.
Where's the Tory MP?
Well, there's that. Yeah, exactly that.
MP, full stop. But Bridgen's been really interesting. I mean, do you think that's controlled, or do you think? Because I don't trust any of them.
Oh, I don't trust any of them either. I just think he's small fry enough. You know, he's an MP for what, Colville down the road. It's not particularly big seat, really. I don't think that they would see. So, you know, he's a local lad to there as well, I think. But we want to try and get him on the show, but it's not been that easy. We've got contact, but
I've written to him. He's not come back.
no. I mean, we've had MPs booked before, and they bottle it last minute.
Have you ever had any MPs?
We had not that have actually come on.
Not one.
Well, foreign ones. We've had like Australian MPs and Canadian MPs and stuff, but not English ones. No. You know, people like Desmond Swain, people like that, they agreed to come on and then bottled it last minute. Because that's what happened to them.
Right.
You know.
And you're opposite. I love the fact you're opposite the BBC.
I know, yeah. With a big 5G mast there as well, which is great. But yeah, for us, we just want to talk to everyone. That's the whole point, is just get all sides. Like yesterday, like Tommy Robinson came in for an interview.
I spoke to him the other day.
Yeah. See, I'm not, you know, I've argued with him for years. Like we've had proper Twitter spats over Israel, Palestine, all this sort of stuff. But we were offered the interview, and I said, as soon as we were offered it, I said, we'll get pelters. I said, we'll get pelters, and the channel will get pelters.
Yeah.
And then Jay was like, well, do you not want to do it? And I was like, no, I want to do it. Of course I do. I want to talk to everyone. That's the point.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we're going to get pelters.
Yeah.
And we did, like yesterday. Shitloads of abuse. But it's like, do you believe in freedom of speech or not?
Yeah, exactly.
And also, like, and I said this in the monologue before, it's like, you need to understand, for someone like me, with a surname like mine, coming from probably one of the most lied about families in the country, you want me to believe what Wikipedia says about him?
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you go to my dad's Wikipedia, he's a fucking terrorist.
Well, this is why This is why I want to come and meet you and meet people. And I've been touring America. And I did a show in Birmingham with loads of people that popped up over the last 2 years just because I wanted to meet them.
Yeah.
Because until you look someone in the eye, you don't really know.
No,
at all.
totally, yeah. That was my thing. Like, he turned up yesterday. I didn't know what to expect. Like I said, I had some Twitter spats, and then, like I say, if you believe what's said about him, he's a fucking psychopath. And he said some things that I've disagreed with, lots of things that I've disagreed with, and then he said things that I agreed with, and that's like, obviously calling out the grooming gangs and stuff. And I did find it weird that people were more offended by what he said about grooming gangs than they were about grooming gangs. That was just bizarre to me.
Yeah.
A lot of those people were people that I knew as well. I remember being like, dude, fucking hell.
Yeah.
But when he came in, he turned up on his own, which I was surprised by. I expected him, given, he gets attacked a fair bit, that he'd have a couple of big lads with him, but no, he turned up on his own, and he seemed on the back foot a bit, because he don't know me, obviously, and he's probably thinking what am I walking into a bit, And then, we just had a decent conversation, and, probed a bit, as is my job, and let him talk. And it was really interesting what he was saying, about, the intelligence agencies trying to recruit him in prison to work for them and stuff, loads of
I didn't
stuff.
know that.
Yeah, and then they tried to frame him for a burglary because he said no, and all this sort of stuff. It was really interesting, stuff I never knew. And also, when you go on the Wikipedia, it's like he's a convicted criminal because of mortgage fraud and robbery and all these different things. And he broke down all of them, and actually, all but one were thrown out. So it was never found. They didn't even go to court, let alone found guilty for. And the mortgage fraud wasn't even him; it was his brother-in-law. And all the mortgage fraud was his brother-in-law said to get a mortgage that he earned 18 grand a year instead of the 12 that he did earn. But because Tommy's name was on it, because he paid the deposit and all that stuff to help him out, they tried to do him for it. And it was just like, I didn't know any of that.
Well, the irony is mortgage. Mortgage
Well, it's fraud.
They're fraudulent
Anyway,
anyway.
yeah, exactly.
It's a fraud.
Yeah, total scam. But he's changed a fair bit. His view. Like he said to me, he said, I used to think, that not Muslims were the problem. He was very straight with that I'd never believed they were the problem. But Islam is a problem. And he said now, whilst I don't agree with it, and I still think it's important to, call it out, as you would call out any religion, is actually it's bigger than that. He's starting to wake up to this whole fact that, this is about dividing everyone actually. And he did admit, he said that, I would have played my part in that divide, and I'm aware of that.
This is good.
Quite a humble bloke, to be fair.
This is good.
And like I say, it's funny. And I said in the end, because I put it on social media, just a picture of us. It was a really interesting conversation. I said, have a watch when it goes out with an open mind. I obviously got fucking loads of shit from people. And I was like, I was replying back, and then the end was like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to defend an interview that none of you have even seen yet, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just watch it, and then come at me if you want to come at me. Because it was like, I bet you didn't even mention Israel, but he didn't. I was like, yeah, I did. One of the main questions I asked him. We that's what we used to row about online, sort of thing. So people need to have a dialogue, even with those they hate. Because what do you do if you don't talk? You fight, don't you?
Well, a lot of people fighting each other that haven't met, don't know the full picture.
Oh yeah.
Based on hearsay.
Someone's version of
It's
something.
always somebody's version of something.
Well, I found that like when Dad obviously got banned from Europe, like there was this podcast went out in Holland, and it's quite a big podcast. This guy's there, a Muslim chap, and he's believed everything that's Dad's an anti this, he's an anti that, so he's bought it all. Never read a book, never watched a speech. Mate, go on YouTube, watch 15 minutes, and you'll know. You know what I mean? That he's none of those things. And he was talking about fucking having him killed. It's like you're the extremist here, dude, and you've become completely radicalised by mainstream media chatting nonsense. Get people killed like that.
Nice.
Tommy was saying the amount of times he's been attacked, he's had all his teeth knocked out, like they're all fake teeth, all his teeth.
Shit.
Spat out in the street, and I tell you what, he said to me, it was ridiculous. He's got a 14-year-old son, I think he's 14, he's got a 15-year-old daughter. both go to school. And he said, I got called in by the headmaster who said, just to let you know, a year above them, so the last year of high school, they're learning about right-wing extremism and right-wing extremists, and there's a whole, part of the semester is on you. Wow. And he's like, are you serious? Like, my kids are in this school. So I mean, and obviously I'll pick them up, they know who I am. And he said to the headmaster, do you agree with this? And the guy's like, no, but we've been told that's the curriculum. So I then said this to my wife, who's a teacher. When I got home yesterday, she was like, bullshit. They don't have to do that. They can, right-wing extremism, hence there's no left-wing extremism, but right-wing extremism might be part of the curriculum, but they don't need to focus on autonomy at all. So that's
a little bit of a fib.
Yeah, and imagine doing that. I mean, then what are all the kids going to do? Oh yeah, his daughter and son are in the 2 years below.
Well, one thing I know about, I interviewed David Edelman the other day. He wrote a book called School No Place for Children, and I obviously homeschools myself in Morocco with my kids. I've got 5 kids, and the one thing I've learned is that a lot of the administrators of schools really don't give a shit about the kids. In fact, the opposite.
Yeah, of course they don't. Well, it became a money-making scheme as well, didn't it? We all started coming into academies and bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter's school is wonderful. I mean, we live in a tiny little village out in North Derbyshire, up towards the Yorkshire border. Just wanted to get out of the city.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful school. Hardly any kids, hardly any teachers, just a tiny little thing. But they've, now the headmistress who's sound, she's left. And they're coming under an umbrella where all these schools all have to fit into the same thing. It was heart sank a bit. But it transpires that because we're in such a remote area that umbrella consists of 2 schools. So that's not so bad then, But some of the umbrellas, when you've got 20 schools underneath it and they're all being ruled by a spider essentially, then you just lose all that individuality and all that stuff. And it's like,
well, they did that with all the councils in Ireland especially. There's no autonomy in the towns. It's all coming from headquarters. I got threatened with jail last week by social services because my kids were out of school so much last year.
Jesus.
And I said, well, it's because of the mask mandate you brought in. I said, that's child abuse, I'm not bringing them in.
No, exactly.
And they went like that. I said,
Also, do you mean prison? Who owns the kids?
Yeah, she's exactly.
State or me?
Exactly.
Outrageous.
It is outrageous. And that's the battle, because this is like COVID and everything else. It's like a fucking that's going on and on and on. And it's a war of attrition, because the fight is traumatising people on a daily basis in their daily lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just something to do with the disease, it's to do with all this draconian shit that's coming left, right and centre.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that, with the protests and stuff, where there was something they wanted to bring in. So say there's a particular thing that they want to bring in which is horrific, whether it be lockdowns, mask mandates, javelin mandates, firing NHS stuff or whatever. You've got something to focus on, and then you would have thousands of people all converging and fighting against it with a common goal. But then, when it's every single day, and it's a little bit here and a little bit there.
It's boiling frog.
Yeah, it is boiling frog, yeah. In your daily lives, like you say. For me, like, I didn't give a monkeys about the mask mandates and stuff. I just do what I want. But at the same time, I was very conscious because my daughter was 2 at the time. If I was with her, then I would then probably go, well, I've got my daughter today. I'll do an online shop to have it delivered or pick it up. Do you know what I mean? Which I don't like doing.
Well, I was doing the same thing.
Yeah, because I just thought if someone comes at me and I'm on my own, whatever, but if I'm holding a 2-year-old and someone comes at me, and people were mental, weren't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got attacked.
Shops. They wouldn't have looked and gone, lad's got a 2-year-old, leave it.
No,
they were
they
mental.
fucking went for you.
Yeah. And so it was like, well, I'm not doing that with a 2-year-old, that's not happening. And so, and my wife, like she couldn't wear a mask even if she wanted to, because she's got a crazy low VO2 max, like her lungs are like sprouts. So she couldn't have done it.
Right.
Like I say, even if she'd wanted to, but she would send me to the shop, because she would just be, don't want to get the grief,
Yeah.
It's like mad, just traumatising just to go and buy like a pack of Rolos or something.
Well, yeah.
Insane.
I spent a year in the garden.
Well, do you know what, like, I always try and find the positives and stuff, like, and when Alora, our eldest, went, I missed her first steps, first words, all that. I was just working, I was a PT at the time, just trying to pay the mortgage. And so when all that lockdown stuff happened, I spent more time with her than I ever had.
Mm.
And that was, I was trying to find positives and stuff.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
There were a lot of good positives.
Just sat in the garden, people in the sunshine playing.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of positives.
Yeah. Yeah, but then it was a case of like, right, let's just not get used to this.
Yeah.
Because I wonder, like, I'm bloody, conspiracy theorist, whatever, but, with that weather in March and April was just gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's never like that in March and April.
No.
And I just thought, if this was freezing and rain and everyone's locked in their houses or flats and they couldn't go out, and you'd have got more pushback
Yeah.
to lockdowns, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But in the end, everyone just went, oh mate, just relax.
Well, you know, I look to your dad as somebody who inspires me for resilience, because it's 30 plus years. Isn't it?
Yeah.
He's been at it, talking to himself for the first 10 years.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
He has good days and bad days though. Like, you know, sometimes he'll come in here and Jay will say to me, because it gets too much.
It's hard.
It's hard, yeah.
And you're doing it full time.
You feel like you're banging your head against the wall, yeah.
I'm doing it full time now.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough.
Taking over my life.
I try and, well, that's the reason I've not played guitar for 3 years. You know, I need to get back doing stuff just for release. Like for me, I had to do this whole kind of home life balance split, where this chat is banned from the house until the kids have gone to bed, and then me and my wife will chat about stuff maybe. But it's banned.
Well, it stressed my kids out. Definitely.
Yeah. See,
And that-
mine don't know what. I mean, one's one, so whatever. But my 4-year-old, she doesn't know what Rona is. COVID is. If you said what's COVID, she won't have a clue. And I want to keep it that
That's
way.
good.
Yeah. Won't have it. And, I mean, she asked a couple of times, why is that person got a mask on? And I remember she going, it's an idiot. And then my wife told me, oh,
Yeah, compassion.
yeah, that's an idiot.
Well, we just saw, I think, 3 people in the street, Main Street in Derby. Still walking around.
Yeah,
in
you
masks.
will, yeah. Derby was pretty weird, to be honest, mate.
It was pretty weird today.
Yeah. It was very strange.
I mean, it was
Out
really,
in the
it's really
sticks,
dead.
it was fine. Do you know what?
Last time I came, it was about 25 years ago. I remember it being a bustling little town.
Yeah. Oh, when I first moved here, probably, what was that, 13, 14 years ago, it was vibey, as you like. And I am a Derby County fan, so I would come up every other weekend for the home games. And so I built a group of friends in Derby, I'd come up, stay with different people, and it was vibey, as you like, and I loved it, hence why I moved here. And then what happened, it was very strange. Basically, a 16-year-old lad was in the McDonald's on St Peter Street, so the main stretch. It was about 7 o'clock in the evening. And a couple of lads in their early 20s have walked up the street, and one of them's like whistled at a girl. And she's ran in and told this bunch of lads, 16-year-olds, and he's come out, he's just knifed the lad.
Oh.
But the wrong lad as well, not even the one that whistled, he's just knifed him in the street in front of shoppers, and he's dropped dead.
Jeez.
And the whole place changed, mate. Changed overnight. Whole atmosphere of the city just went from one thing. You could pinpoint it to that point. It's very, very strange. And I did an arts council project about 6 months later, and I was working at a Stapleford at a young offenders. And they were all right, these kids. I mean, they're demons and shit, and they've been through stuff, and you weren't allowed to know what crimes, but they always let enough go that you could make an educated guess, And but I got on all right with them, and we wrote some songs together, and I tried to get their feelings out in musical form. That was the point of the project, anyway. And so I'm chatting in the staff room to the staff officer, and I said to them, did these kids seem all right? And they were like, no, we've got a good bunch here at the minute, to be fair. Troubled, but no one's going to do anything totally insane. And I said, have you ever had anyone like this, the other end of that? And they all said that lad. And because they said his name, and it rang a bell at the time, and I was like, you want the lad? And he went, yeah. They said he was a demon. He wasn't.
Demonically possessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he almost wasn't human.
Which is real.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. He almost wasn't human in a way.
Kieran here made a film about knife crime in Dublin, and he's a musician. I think you'd enjoy that. Because it's massive, it's everywhere.
Yeah, he's everywhere. Yeah, yeah. London's unbelievable now.
Yeah.
It's one of the most dangerous cities in Europe now. London.
Dublin's rough.
Is it?
Dublin's bad.
Yeah, it's really not good.
See, I went to Dublin. I've been a few times. The first time I went years
I met
ago.
you in Dublin.
What, the Helix?
Was it in the university?
Yeah.
You did a talk. You were in the
Yeah.
foyer.
Yeah. But they, first time I went, there was a big influx from Eastern Europe at that point. You could see things were starting to change ever so slightly in terms of, there was a bit of hostility between the natives sort of thing. I remember noticing that at the time and thinking, there's little powder kegs being built all over Europe.
Oh.
Completely intentionally, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it was the same in Derby. And I remember I was working at Virgin at the time. There was a large influx that came into Normanton area, and the Normanton area is generally an Asian area. And I remember this. I was training this guy from Pakistan. He was an old boy, and he was doing this huge rant about. And he was basically, I don't think he used the exact words, but it wasn't far off. Them lot coming over here. And obviously, I was looking at him thinking, I'm pretty sure you did that like 20 years ago. But a lot of these people integrated and others didn't. They built different pockets around the city, and so what you find around that area of Derby is actually those lot are fighting against themselves.
Yeah.
Immigrants from different areas scrapping with each other.
Yeah.
My brother's wife used to work at a school out that way, and they would have to stagger drop-offs from between like there's some like Slovenians or whatever might drop off at a certain point, and then half an hour later another part of Eastern Europe they would drop off their kids because never the two should meet in terms of parents because they start scrapping. Crazy.
It's a strange way to live.
But it's not a life, is it?
It's not, no.
It's not a life. No, it's really strange. Because you think, especially if you're leaving, an area, why would you bring that argument with you?
I know.
If I'm leaving, to get away from it,
Yeah.
Yeah, very strange, but yeah, England's a strange place. That's why I got out into the sticks.
Well,
As remote as I could be, really.
like because I moved away from England 8 years ago, so when I come back, there's usually a gap of time, so you notice it.
Oh, of
because
course, yeah.
You don't notice it when you're in it, do you?
No, not at all, no.
And it is really weird.
Yeah, I'm the same with London. Like, I used to be in London constantly. Well, I lived there for 2 years, but I used to be there all the time. And so I was probably like you. Like I am now with Derby. I don't notice so much stuff, but now, because I only go back every few months, even in that gap, I can see bits and bobs of changing. Which is hilarious because it's become real nasty now. But before, it went the other way. Like it was just gentrified. So there was areas where you'd have like punk rock places that I'd gig and whatever that then just become swanky wine bars and where banksters would hang out and it's £8 half an hour parking and bollocks like that. And now it's going the other way, back to. It's very strange, I saw the same in Berlin. Spent quite a lot of time in Berlin, and that was the same. Saw that change.
Yeah.
Completely.
Well, the thing we did in the States, we went to the 17 places that were you mostly considered to be Democrat strongholds, woke towns. That's why we did it. We were outside Disneyland with one gig, and then we were in what was that place? Minneapolis. That's a really weird place. That was like Derby. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It was just people like
It was
Prozac.
empty as well.
Empty.
For a
Really
city.
weird.
Democratic places though. New York's another one.
Yeah,
Complete docile
went,
now.
Yeah, we went there. Where did we go? New York? Was it Brooklyn?
Brooklyn
Yeah, it was.
and Boston.
Because I used to hang out there 30 years ago. It's totally different.
Yeah. First time I went was 20 years ago. Yeah, totally different.
Those are great cities.
I loved it. We went and stayed. Me and a load of mates went out there for like 10 days.
Excuse me.
Because I'm a Ranger fan, so I would go and watch the hockey and stuff. And the last time I went, it's
It's worldwide, basically.
it's horrible.
Oh, you naughty boy.
Oh, right, thanks, mate. Yeah. But yeah, even we stayed. Me and my brother went to watch the Rangers against the Devils, quite big rivals, like Derby Forest, basically. And we came out of the hotel, which was across the road from Madison Square Garden, and I had a Rangers shirt on. I was getting fucking pelters from people in the street, not even hockey fans, but just real dodgy bastards just shouting abuse at you. I was like, it says New York on it. Thought you'd be alright, mate. Yeah, really. Yeah, real strange.
So it's good versus evil. It's everywhere. I'm optimistic.
I'm optimistic.
I am.
Good wins in the end.
Yeah.
We've all seen the films, haven't we? How it ends. Definitely. I think there's nuggets of light now coming through.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, we talked about Bridget, but where are the other bits of light? Because you're on the front line, you're at it all the time, and we all have different pieces of the puzzle. But what are you seeing that's...
Well, the vaccine's a big one because that then turns on any trust in government, period. Because these guys, forced you, or kind of forced you, to have something that...
Coerced.
To something that could basically kill you and is killing people. Well, if they're capable of that, what else are they capable of? So then people start to ask questions. People are starting to ask questions of Ukraine, seeing interesting things about that, And then the same with climate change. Because they're the big three at the minute, and there's more people questioning than ever before. Like I used to, sometimes I would put a tweet out, and then I'd basically, go into the wardrobe and get a helmet on, and wait.
Yeah.
And it don't happen anymore,
Doesn't it?
It doesn't really happen. You get the odd bit and bob, obviously, but it don't really. Those, how fucking dare you say that?
Is that because you're not being seen by those people, or is it because they just...
I know we get a fair bit of interaction. I think just people, people's idea of the possible has completely changed in the last 3 years. Because if you'd have described the Rona, say the start of 2019, you'd have said in a year this is going to happen, people would think you're a maniac.
Yeah.
We'll never do that. People won't agree to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so now people are starting to, and that's why I think it's really important to remind people. And I see quite a lot of people doing it. Do you remember when they said this? Do you remember when this? Just keep putting this out. Remember when they said you could catch it through your ears? people wearing earmuffs.
Yeah,
Like, just
yeah.
keep reminding people of just the insanity, so that when it
You
comes
catch
back,
it from singing. I remember that.
yeah. Yeah, people having masks
Stop
with
singing.
holes in it so they can blow the flute. Just complete insanity. And I think it's worth reminding people.
It's like a fucking bad dream.
Yeah, it was like Twilight Zone, wasn't it?
It still is. Really.
I remember early doors in it. I was walking to the shop from where I used to live, and a fellow was walking towards me, holding his kid who was probably, I don't know, 9 months, 10 months, a year maybe, sort of age. And without looking, right, and bear in mind this road, people used to, it's part of the reason we moved, used to use it as a bit of as a chicken run, basically, cut through it rather than go around the village, go straight through it at 40 mile an hour. And he literally, without looking, he stepped into the road with his baby, rather than walk past me and my toddler.
What?
And I remember just looking at him and just shook my head at him like, that's illness, that is.
No, it's mental.
That's mental illness. You take your chances with a Tesco lorry rather than me. Like, that's madness. You know, absolute
Are
madness.
you familiar with Dolores Cannon's work? She was a hypnotherapist who started regressing people, past life regressors in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
And she noticed all these patterns of this, people that were totally related, never met, coming out with the same information. And
Nice.
she started logging it all, and she came up with this concept that different souls have been coming into the earth for the ascension, and that the people who are currently in their 90s are like the scouts, and people in their 50s are the bridges, and the people in their 60s are the warriors, and you've got these different types of people that have come in. But part of that theory involved her stating that a big percentage of people on this planet are essentially non-player characters, like soulless.
I completely subscribe to that.
That's what I'm seeing. That's
Yeah.
what we just saw in Derby,
Yeah.
on the main street. They're
Yeah.
just walking around like there's nothing going on.
I remember Dad, like, 'cause he's written about that in the Trap,
Yeah.
about that, and he it was funny because he called me. We were all on the island, just happened to be on the island, like, all at the same time, visiting different family members. And he called like me, my mum, and my sister and my brother, like, to the cafe, like, what sort of stuff I've been researching, I want to pass on. I went, yeah, that's good. Like, what is it? And he started explaining it, and I remember my brother just going, "You call them non-player characters, didn't you?" I was like, "Mate, yeah,
Well, she called them background characters, but it is an NPC.
yeah."
And there was that movie about NPCs.
Yeah,
like Sheila.
but it's the thing, isn't it? It's like when you play
Yeah.
FIFA, like, you're in control of a player with the ball, but that other player is still running down the wing.
Mm.
But no one's in control of him. It's just the software that's doing that, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not at any point going to do anything out the normal. He can do what he's programmed to do.
That's right.
And I see people like that, 100%.
Mm.
And it's once you identify them, just forget it,
Yeah.
because you'll never get through.
Well, that's the best thing about
like
COVID. We now know who everybody is.
Yeah,
Everybody who put that on,
yeah,
they're not real.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like,
But that's fucking surreal as well, isn't it?
totally. I mean, I remember at the start of the Rona thinking, you know, as a guy that's married with a kid and a kid on the way, like, what a nightmare it must be, particularly for women, because they have a body clock, who want to meet someone, maybe have a kid, fucking locked in their house, pubs are closed, you can't go meet people. Like, what a nightmare.
It was.
But then at the end of it, then you just think, well, actually, there's so many ways now that you can just identify people, and you'll find out something that you might not find out for 18 months.
Yeah.
Great to say 18 months. See you later.
You
Nice
might
to meet you.
You might say 20 years of a marriage.
Well, that's it, yeah. I mean, Jay was telling me about one of the ladies that was organising protests in Nottingham Way, that she'd obviously met some guy on a dating app or whatever, and so she just sort of sat down in his restaurant and waited for him to arrive, and he arrived, and obviously he had his mask on, and he sat down and took his mask off, said hello, and she went, "I'll see you later. I'm off." You know, you shouldn't, you know, whatever, everyone should be able to do what they want to do, I guess, but you can also identify whether that's going to be compatible with what you want. And,
Yeah.
and it was, you know, you could have ate that dinner and gone to a nightclub and then gone on, and 18 months later realised that they were a bit of a NPC, and actually, yeah, it's fine.
It is
Well
weird,
done.
though. It's really weird.
It is strange, yeah, especially the ones on their own in the car and all that sort of stuff. It's extraordinary, really, to me.
Do you have access to? I'm not asking you for numbers, but have you noticed like an increase in sales of your dad's books, for example, or an increase in subscribers to Iconic and more?
Iconic's gone up a bit in the last few months, yeah, and Dad, obviously, with the Trap, that sold really well. But I think also a reason for that was we managed to get that out on audiobook, which is big because everyone's so busy, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I can sit down and read a book, or I can have it on in the car.
Especially those books, they're like this.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So we're going to try and work through other ones. It's just like I said, it's
that's
so
a very
huge.
good idea. That's a great idea.
I mean, I it was great for me because obviously, you know, when every time Dad releases a book, you know, you sit down and read it. And
There's a lot of visuals in his books though as well.
yeah, not so much in this one though, to be fair, but yeah, it's hard to find the time to do that, you know, because it's an in-depth read. It's not like you just sit down and read a murder mystery for an hour. It's like you're invested. And then, so when Chrissy was recording him, each chapter they would just send to me, just to make sure there were no little, you know, issues and stutters and whatever, just to edit. And it was great. I'd go out for walks around the peaks with them on, just listening to the book. Yeah. So that's made a difference because it's more accessible and it's big. Blind people as well, you know, can get involved now. So that's great.
Well, it's a constant war, which is why I guess you guys set this up, because how do you control and how do you fund? You can keep funding this sort of thing because it takes a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, that was the point of the subscription model because, you know, you can go for an advertising model, but then, you know,
That's actually why I came to Wembley 10 years ago to suggest the subscription model.
really,
Yeah.
it makes much more sense.
Because when I saw the people's voice, I thought this ain't going to work.
No.
And just because of the business model.
Well, yeah.
But then you've got people inside it that.
Yeah, but you also, you know, you're kind of waiting for someone else to fund you, and also, you know, with what the nature of what we do, what if one of the biggest funders of the channel, you know, we find out some stuff,
Yeah.
that you can publish it.
Put your,
Well, I
all your
want
eggs-
to,
all
but
your eggs
then
in one basket.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you're fucked.
yeah. Whereas with a subscription model, you know, on a monthly pay one, you know what you got each month, and it's like, right, okay, that's
Yeah.
all we've got to make programs next month and whatever. So you can kind of make sure that you can just cut your cloth accordingly.
And you've been making some really good output. Like I love that Albion.
Yeah,
That was really good.
it's great for Dad to be able to do that, you know, given his TV history and stuff.
Yeah.
To be able to make shows again,
Yeah,
rather than, you know, just sat in his office
Yeah,
and
he's
stuff.
really good at it, and that's what we're not getting on TV.
No. And also with the visuals and stuff to kind of really sort of bring it to life, the words, so it's not just a talking head.
Yeah, yeah,
That makes a big difference, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about Twitter. Elon Musk. Because when it all started, I just left my account alone because I'd had it for 13 or 14 years or something.
Oh yeah.
And I thought I was just going to leave that one alone. We'd already taken down a YouTube channel. I got locked out of Facebook, so I just focused on the videos. What do you think that's all about? All the free speech that's happening.
Becoming a bit of a hero of the freedom movement, maybe. Because for me, you know, okay, he's lifted a little bit on Twitter, brought a few accounts back, but there's a hell of a lot of accounts still getting deleted, and there's a hell of a lot of accounts still being restricted. And so,
Have you got any examples? Because
well, take Lucas Gage for instance, right? He's he's an ex-Marine. Come on the show a few times. You know, he's calling out the military-industrial complex and all that sort of stuff. And he ended up subscribing to Twitter Blue, and just having all the stuff shadow banned and restricted and stuff, and even kicking like, what the hell are you doing? They've shown a couple of accounts, more conservative accounts that were deleted today, actually. And it's, you know, I get the feeling that, you know, he's sending all these things out to space with your Neuralink stuff, you know, connecting humans to AI and things like that. His driverless cars, you know, all that technology.
none of that's good.
No, none of that's good. But you can use the wrong pronouns now on Twitter, you know. So I get the feeling that he's probably just become a bit of a false messiah for the freedom movement a little bit. Lead you down like Trump.
Well,
Lead you to a glorious defeat.
in fighter planes, they call that chaff. You throw chaff out the back, so the missiles go for that instead of the planes.
Yeah,
Distraction.
I think a lot of it's distraction. Yeah.
Where's the goodness coming from? High levels. If you don't believe in Trump, you don't.
I don't think there is a lot of goodness in high levels. I think the goodness comes from the people, if I'm honest. And I don't think politics is going to save us
No, it's not.
at all.
It's got to go, really, hasn't it? Well,
Yeah.
What are we going to replace it with?
Well, that's just $1 million question. Isn't it? I think by
Have you met anybody that's got that? They've got a stat.
well, I think the biggest idea is to just localise things again. You know, instead of big government, just go as local as you want. You know, villages even.
Well, like that Michael Tellinger, have you spoken to him? You've heard of him?
I've heard the name, but I've not spoken to him.
Well, I came across him years ago because he's a South African. He's a musician as well. He discovered things like Adam's calendar, which is like the biggest stone circle clock in the world. It's huge, and there's almost, and they found the footprints of 2 or 3 cities that were bigger than London, all in the undergrowth. And he found giant footprints, like 6-foot footprints in granite, and all this kind of crazy stuff. This led him to stand for president in South Africa. He took the banks to task for mortgage fraud, and he's been a real hero for quite a long time. But he came up with this idea called One Small Town, which is exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get places around the world to take that on. I think there's one starting to do it in Ireland, which I'm going to go and look into.
Just start small. That's what I think it is. Local community, where you know everyone, and everyone's kind of got each other's back, and everyone's got a vested interest in everyone doing well. Because the more people that do well, then the more people that do well.
Yeah, well, he's proven through that model, you could have, every town could be extremely wealthy.
Oh, completely, yeah, completely self-sustainable as well. Yeah. If you've not got someone creaming off the top,
all the middlemen gone.
Yeah. I found that gigging, we used to gig on a real small level, obviously, but even like the middlemen in gigs, it would take such a large chunk of money. The venue supplying the venue, you're supplying the music, and you've got this geezer in the middle that puts up a handful of posters and something on MySpace and takes 2/3 of the money.
Yeah.
Off. And just go direct to the venue. And that's what I think people need to do. Metaphorically, it's just ditch the middleman.
Well, ironically, that's what blockchain technology promises. But then there's problems with the whole crypto and digital currency.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's like everything's a double-edged sword.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, digital currency is what they want, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because then computer says no and you're stitched.
So what's coming up for Iconic in the next 6 months?
Me and Jay are starting a documentary on the normalisation of obesity, actually, in April. So that should be interesting. Because you've gone from, this is the whole idea of the film, you've gone from, 10 years ago, size 0, everyone had to have a 6-pack, thigh gap, and all that sort of bullshit, where people were starving themselves and on fat burners, all this kind of stuff, to now all of a sudden obesity, which is a huge killer, being completely normalised and absolutely fine, and doctors being sued and penalised for even calling it out and stuff. So we've got a journey in between of cardiologists and a couple of pro boxers and a couple of models from back in the day that were going to come on and talk about the fact that their agents were giving them pills to lose weight and all this kind of stuff. Some psychologists and just really leaving it almost open-ended, but asking the question of why is this normal? Why would they do that? And we've got a guy called Callie Means who was on the show a couple of weeks ago. He's a Coca-Cola whistleblower. He was on Fox, and then he came on our show where he was saying that basically big corporations pay people like the ADL, Hope Not Hate, all those types. They actually pay them money to go and call their opponents racists or transphobes or whatever to destroy them, and they pay them millions of pounds to do that. And so the Coca-Cola example, he said, I worked on the project where basically they were manipulating the FDA, again through money, so that they could get Coca-Cola under a food stuff, so basically it would be allowed to be served in primary schools, shit like that. So there were these parents, a gang of parents from Texas or whatever, that were all kind of conservative women, and they then went, right, southern states, white conservative women, and paid a bunch of money to, he said the name of the charity, it did ring a bell, but I guess civil rights movement, to then call them all racist and do this whole big attack on them and slander them, put it in the media and all sorts of stuff. But all they were doing was a load of mums that didn't want Coca-Cola in the kids' school,
Yeah.
But then he then went on to say that that they also pay money to Harvard, Stanford, and all these people for these peer-reviewed studies that will show that obesity isn't caused by sugar, like it has no, which is absolute bullshit. And then it made me think to the ones that come out recently where they said that Wheatos have got more nutritional value than beef. And it's like, that's a wind-up.
Well, they did that at my kids' school. The kids came home with a food chart, and they said that bread had more nutrition than broccoli.
It's insane, isn't it?
What the fuck?
Yeah. And but he was saying like and then he said that big pharma is the biggest one that does it, which was really interesting, because then you think, oh no, there's peer-reviewed studies showing it's Pfizer's safe and effective. How much that cost, And so he's going to come on and talk about, for him, the idea is that basically you've got these food companies in terms of obesity. You've got these food companies that can use oils and different ingredients which are cheapest for them but dreadful for me and you. But they can then pay the FDA to get them through, so they can give them to me and you. They make us ill. Big pharma comes in and provides the drugs, and so they're working hand in hand.
It's a pincer movement.
Yeah, completely, to keep everyone sick and more controllable. You know, 'cause docile, fucking medicated idiots. You know.
Yeah.
So he's going to come on and, you know, I'm going to leave the question open-ended, but he's going to come on and put his theory, and everyone else have their theory about why is there this explosion, like we did with the No Turning Back, the explosion of transgenderism. Why is there?
I've not seen that.
It's really interesting film with detransitioners in it, and it's heartbreaking, to be honest. Like these like there's one lad who's, you know, obviously, they didn't want to know. Like when he came back and regretted it, they just tossed him aside. You know, he's lost everything. You know.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's horrendous. And then there's a woman the other way, so she's obviously had that and organ. Yeah,
It's horrific.
it's horrific. Yeah, and completely normalised. And like there was someone in the film coming from the Tavistock Institute saying that they transitioned hundreds of kids and they didn't believe a single one of them was transgender. Like actually transgender. They cut and guys, unbelievable.
Castrated.
Yeah, and they were saying that there was 2 doctors at the Tavistock that were gay, that were going, these aren't transgender kids, they're just gay, so they're just confused about, am I a woman? They're not, they're just gay. They were sacked. Do you want me to get rid of them?
Yep.
Yeah, it's outrageous, absolutely outrageous. So, you know, obviously that film was about the normalisation of that. Why is it everywhere in this obesity film?
Yeah.
Jay came up with the name like Body of Evidence, which is a pretty good name to kind of look at what the hell this is about. So, yeah, that's the next thing I'm working on, apart from obviously the Right Nows. And
Yeah, so you're just going to keep asking questions, making quality content.
that's the plan.
And what kind of stuff's getting the most engagement at the moment?
I mean, Informed Consent got a huge engagement, but you know that might also have been down to when it came out.
Yeah.
With the mandates and stuff.
Yeah.
No Turning Back. That that got some mainstream media coverage. You know, the Daily Mail covered it and stuff like that.
I was going to ask you about that. What's the relationship like with the media at the moment between you guys and them?
But
How are they letting us all carry on?
well, between the individuals, so say take GB News for instance, I couldn't get on GB News for love nor money. They wouldn't want to know. In terms of the management, they won't have that. But then you've got
Why?
because I just don't think they'll go this far.
I mean, they've got. I was looking at it the other day because I was interviewing Matt Letizia and he was on it, and it's just like the mainstream media. It's just soundbite.
Oh, completely, yeah.
No time to.
And also, you know,
They've got Michael Portillo presenting something.
There you go.
That tells you
That's the
everything.
point, isn't it?
That
But then
tells you
there's people that work for them. So, you know, people like Tonya Buxton, Dominic Samuels, they come on these shows regular. So the actual people, Neil Oliver was on the walk, the actual people themselves will get involved, but the management won't have it.
Who are they?
Well, they took Soros money, didn't they, GB News?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
That
they
makes sense.
took Soros money, yeah. They got a big investment through this guy, I can't remember his name, but actually if you literally like a scratch card it was Soros money. It was worth
Because
it.
Eamon Holmes did interview your dad a couple of times, didn't he?
And he was very
And he was quite open.
he was very open. Yeah, I remember him following me on social media, which was quite weird at first, and then he was like, oh, you know, and then he just flipped.
Did he?
Went back, yeah. Yeah. I think his wife wears the trousers there though. And she's on point. You know, she don't question it. Yeah. But there you go. People come and go. They have a lot over the years. You know, you've had, you know, lots of people get in touch and they want to meet Dad and they have a conversation and we never do anything with it.
No.
Really support what you do. And then they clear off and they never say anything publicly.
Have there been any big names that have come out in support of him? Because I remember.
Well, Robbie Williams did.
I remember seeing him at Wembley when you were on. I can't remember what year that was. 2012.
Yeah.
But he said all the famous people out there who are watching me. Where were you, bollocks? You know,
Yeah. I mean, Russell Brand said a bit. Noel Gallagher said a bit. Van Morrison, he met Dad years and years ago, then did nothing with it, and then he came out a bit
Just
during
put
this
an album
stuff, didn't
out
he?
of good stuff, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Recently?
yeah. So he's kind of finally come out a bit. Sorry, mate.
Sorry.
But you know, I get like messages on the regular. If I, you know, in the Twitter inbox from people like professional footballers, international big ones, and you know, they ask questions and you have conversations, but they don't go public on stuff. Which is, you know, it is what it is.
Well,
It'd be
Matt
nice if-
Letizia stands out.
Yeah, he stands out, but he, you know, he doesn't have a career to lose anymore. So it's, I guess for him, he's like, you know, as soon as he got let go by Soccer Saturday, it's like, look, I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. Whereas others that have got big contracts and big mortgages and they've bought their mum a house and stuff. And
That's why
it's
they
different.
take the knee. That's why they do that.
Well, yeah, I know with that stuff, a lot of players didn't agree with that. Yeah, I mean, we had a couple of ex-footballers on the show that were, you know, a couple of mixed race lads that didn't agree with it at all.
Yeah.
There was one lad played for Forest actually, who was massively outspoken against it, and they tried to throw vitriol at him for it, but he's a black lad, and so you can't.
Yeah.
You can't do that. But he and a few of the Derby players wouldn't have it either. I think Derby were one of the first when Rooney was manager. They were one of the first that went enough, and they stopped doing it because I think they realised, you know, the political part of it.
It's football.
Yeah, and also it's a submissive move. You know, if it was me, and there was a couple of lads that played for Derby, a couple of black players that instead of taking a knee, they would stand. I know one of them stood up like that, because that for him is like, that's more powerful. I'm taking a knee.
Yeah.
What the hell are you on about? Like, it's a submissive Freemasonic symbol anyway.
It
Like,
is, yeah.
you know, protesting by doing a submissive move, it seems weird to me. I don't get it. Not on the face of it, obviously there's, you know, there's reasons, isn't there, behind it, but
Yeah, that's all inversion.
well, that's the thing, isn't it? Everything is.
Yeah.
Everything is, yeah.
But I like the fact you're still optimistic from that.
Always, mate. Yeah, without hope, got nothing. But I'm seeing cracks. Like I said this a little while ago, where I would have different groups of friends. I'd have my football mates, and I'd have my music mates, and then I'd have my, you know, tinfoil hat mates.
Yeah.
And you could have these conversations. The music lot, not really. The football lot, fucking hell, Ike's off on one again. What heaven? And so you'd know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then I did see a marked change, where I would go out for a few beers before a derby game, whatever. And some of the lads would come in, hey, fucking Ike, have you seen this?
Yeah.
And it's like, the music lot, bizarrely, who was supposed to be punk rock and anti-system, they bought everything. Like, they bought it all. But the football fans are much more critical thinking, which is weird, isn't it? Because you see them idiots.
You think it was the other way around.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And that's what makes me laugh. Like, it was footballers that spoke out.
Well, football's so
The musicians did nothing.
No.
You know, it was footballers.
Especially mainstream ones. Big
Yeah,
ones.
exactly.
Oh.
Even those anti-establishment ones. You know, like anti-establishment people like Sir Mick Jagger,
Yeah.
who was like banned unvaxxed people from his shows and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
embarrassment. Dave Grohl, what the fuck was that about?
I don't know.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
And now Taylor's
Rob
dead.
Reiner the other day was, you know, they're all kicking off on the other, on both sides, you know, but they're all kind of showing their colours. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and we vote with our. That's what we're going to do.
Well, that's the thing, innit? Yeah, Eddie Vedder, really, that was another disappointment. I think a lot of the ones that I loved in the 90s. Very frustrating.
I can't.
It is what it is.
I can't listen to anything. It's like I can't even watch a movie anymore. Well, the movies I used to watch.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like,
Yeah, he's trying to separate art from artist, isn't it? Yeah, it's difficult though. Yeah, I remember watching Stevie Wonder years ago at the festival when he went on this big speech about how Obama was the saviour, and I remember just going, "I'll see you later." I've come to watch the music, not that nonsense. Obama's a crook just like the rest of them.
Yeah.
But there you go. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your time tonight.
No, let's just get my brother to show you around. 'Cause you've not seen.
Great.
Different offices through there. There is a podcast room, but Dad does his football in there now. Yeah, the green screen room. It doesn't get utilised a hell of a lot in there. Yeah, we do bits and bobs, and if, like, for instance, I've had a big guest in there for maybe a 10-15 minute interview for right now, like, they'll bring them through here and someone else will just do a half an hour interview that you can put out as a VT. Like, it's good for that in here. But the idea is to basically have two studios working simultaneously. That would be great.
Alcohol.
Yeah, both just recording. But it's money at the minute. Yeah, because it's a case of just, you know, making sure that you're ticking along enough and there's enough of a margin for error, you know.
Yeah.
the long form stuff. So this is Right Now Studio. That's where me and Tommy were yesterday. Hence works like that. Normally you've got the desk there. The company came down from Manchester to build the studio and basically just said go, because obviously all this lights up and stuff. It was like go with French Resistance, Underground Bunker meets ESPN Sports Centre.
Yeah.
Right, and just try and build a combo.
That's cool.
But yeah, so Jay does his show, I do the Right Now show, Dad does his Dot Connector, me and Lalani do In the News Right Now on a Monday. Rich does his deep dives, Rich Willett, but he comes up once a month and films 5 in 2 days, which is like brutal because they're like an hour and a bit long each one. But he lives in Norfolk, so obviously he just comes up once a month, does that. Lewis Brackpool started working here now, so hopefully like Lewis will do a show. The idea is to have one every day of the week. That's the plan. For a couple of days short at the minute, but like I say, it's iconic.com. Yeah. So it's a free 7-day trial as well, so you can come and have a look and see what you think. Yeah.
I've got a gig for you.
Go on.
Manchester Monastery. Have you ever been there?
No.
It's amazing.
Really?
So I'll tell you this story. I did this Great Awakening thing in Birmingham, which we just got away with because the venue didn't know what it was about. And then, before they wouldn't let us rebook it. And then I was going, there must be somebody awake with a venue somewhere. 2 days later, I got an email from Manchester Monastery, which is this architectural marvel in the middle of Gorton in Manchester, which is
Gorton, yeah.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal inside. It was saved by this woman, amazing, 30 years ago, because it was going to be knots, and they consecrated it and everything. But it's stunning inside. So we went and did a show there in October.
How big is it?
It's huge, yeah. I mean, we had a queue of people outside. We did a full day show, like from 10 till 6 o'clock. I just had a load of guests on. But I'm doing it again in April if you want to come and play.
I'd love to have to pick up my guitar. Yeah,
I need to get
around
to play because it's going to be full. I've got Matt Letizia on. There's a woman from Canada coming called, I don't know if you know Tarot by Janine. Ever seen her? She does tarot cards and everything.
So what's Matt doing? Just watch the Q&A?
Well, I'm going to sit there like this.
Got you.
And do a live 5-hour interview show.
Wow,
With
amazing.
a bit of music.
That sounds great.
I'd love you to play.
Oh mate, I'd love to come along. Yeah, definitely. What day?
15th.
That can work. I can make that work.
We've almost sold out.
Yeah. That sounds incredible. Yeah.
It'd be amazing if you could. Because I saw you play on stage at Wembley fucking 12 years ago, was it?
Yeah.
Well, I'd love it if you played live.
Yeah. I need to sort it out. Life got in the way a bit, but also like we live in it's called a townhouse because it sounds posh, but it's just a terrace with an extra room in the loft. But so obviously because the girls are young, by the time they go to bed, like I say 8 o'clock or whatever, it's like if I start playing, I'll wake them up. So I'm kind of a bit stitched, but
Yeah.
I'll find a way. I always do.
I mean, I just think it's really important that we do the live stuff because it's, you're a musician, you know how important that is.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
People coming together. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
The last 6 months.
Yeah, well, let's keep in touch then and do that. Yeah, I'd love to, mate. And do you know what, where we are now? Manchester's literally just up the road. It's not far at all.
So it's an hour away, isn't it?
A bit longer, but yeah, still not far. An hour and a half. Yeah,
And honestly, the acoustics are mind blowing.
amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds great, mate. Yeah, it's just me and an acoustic these days, so that would be perfect. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Good, you got him on camera saying that. So
Yeah, no, I'd love to.
He's
mate.
screwed now.
I need to. I've agreed to do a festival in August just because I know that will make me pull my finger out.
Whatever you go. I'll just give you over in terms of.
Yeah.
Is there anything else around it?
Not really, just
Jay's office
and the old podcast room.
The Ivory Tower over here.
Yeah. So when they gave us when they built the set, they gave us one extra panel of bricks. So we stuck it in there. So when you do the WhatsApp podcast, it's just fake.
Cool.
It's a fake brick wall, yeah.
That was entertaining. Three
But
middle-aged men guys broken carrying that.
Oh yeah, because it's hella heavy.
So Jamie is optimistic as Gareth and I.
What about the future?
Where we're going.
Definitely. Yeah, got to be. Like Gareth, got 2 young kids as well, and
I've got 5.
oh wow. Well, with the future, like you'd almost you would feel selfish bringing them into the world if you didn't think there was a chance of us sorting it out.
Well,
Because it's this bad now. What's it
Yeah.
going to be like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, if we don't do something about it? So you got to be positive.
yeah, good.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Like just thinking about since we started this 3 years ago, the difference. I know COVID obviously woke a lot of people up, but the difference in terms of the amount of people that are interested in stuff like this that weren't before. So it's ridiculous, really. it did feel like banging your head against a brick wall, didn't it, for quite a long time.
Yeah, still does occasionally, but far less so than it
Yeah,
was
far
before.
less so now, because it feels like they're taking on issues that affect everyone now, rather than. So take like, we'll say like 9/11, which was a massive catalyst. That didn't affect anyone in this country going to work on the 12th of September.
No.
Whereas COVID affected everyone from March onwards. Whether you believed in it, didn't believe in it, got vaccinated, didn't get it affected you in some way. And then obviously they're coming for the kids now with the trans issue, and obviously
That's the thing. I always thought
it's affecting everyone now, and there's more people interested because it affects their lives.
the thing is as well. It's also that issue that transcends class and whatever.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
paedophilia, child abuse is a huge one, because it don't matter whether you're working on a building site or whether you're working in the City of London. If you've got kids, isn't you? And it unites, I think.
Oh, 100%. And this whole minor attracted person, I'm actually hoping they try and push on with that, because hopefully that'll be the instigator where people go, fucking hell, this has gone too far. Enough's enough. This is
People,
mental.
you know, Pye in the 70s, Harriet Harman and all that, you know, people just don't know about that.
Yeah.
But they carried on.
100%.
Yeah. You know, it's women. It's
Yeah, 100%.
It's
They
insane.
tried to throw a few people under the bus, didn't they, in the past, but like Savile and a few of the Tory people. But
Well, they didn't even chuck Savile, did they?
no, it just came out.
No,
but
they
didn't.
wait till he was dead.
Steve Cooper, they're playing.
Yeah, well, they didn't.
If anyone was going to make a documentary on that, it couldn't have been the BBC.
I know.
It couldn't have been.
What
them.
the-
I thought that was ridiculous.
Well, yeah, but they're owning the narrative, aren't they? They're trying.
But that's
to
what. No, I mean that's why it should never have been them.
Well, they're dramatising it with Steve Cooper.
Yeah, it's disgraceful.
They're trying to.
That had to be, you know, a Netflix job
Yeah.
or whatever. I
Well,
think.
they have made one Netflix, haven't they, as well?
Yeah, but that still didn't go far enough.
No, of
No,
course
it
they
didn't,
won't.
because it didn't. Because, like I said, they were happy to say it happened years ago, but they're not happy to look at actually is this still going on today?
So, of course it is.
Also, the fact that his best mate, is now the king of England. They're
Yep.
not going to touch that, are they?
No.
100%. And then obviously the Epstein-Andrew connection. It's like you got, if me and Gareth as two brothers, the same family, one of them was mates with an American massive paedophile, and one of us was mates with Britain. You'd ask questions of the family.
Yeah.
You'd be
You
asking
might
questions of the
think-
family.
You think you would, yeah.
You know, but with them, nothing.
Sorry, just very quickly, Rachel's off. Could you just get a quick photo?
Yeah.
You guys?
Yeah.
Have a safe journey back, mate.
For me, this is all about positivity. And
I think most of the people involved in the movement, for want of a better term, are positive.
Yeah.
I just think, you know, sometimes you can catch them on a bad day,
I know, you know.
and we all have them. I have them sometimes. I get that much thing. What's the point? But it
There's
never
also
lasts that long.
people that, you know, it's just getting more subscribers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, that'd be great. The more people we can get to, the better.
Collaborating.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's what I say.
And for us, you know, it's not a profit-making enterprise. The more subscribers you get, the more programs we make.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea would be, like we said earlier, if we could have a news and current affairs show 7 days a week,
Yeah.
that'd be amazing. So
Exactly.
at the minute we don't have the staff,
Well,
unfortunately.
you're the guys to do it.
So yeah, fingers crossed.
Set
Yeah.
up and
Yeah,
so if I can help in any way, I will.
yeah, appreciate that, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
That's fucking that was mint.